short wind formula helps you, like, how do I account for 22-mile-an-hour wind at a 600-meter shot? Right? Like, that's hard. How do I do that math? How do I plug it in a kestrel? I don't have all that kind of time if, like, my target of opportunity steps out of the wood line and I'm trying to fiddle dink around with whatever ballistic computer I'm using. So there's different calibers that fall under like a different ballpark. The numbers don't really matter where they come from. What matters is they kind of blanket the whole caliber regardless of the system. If it's a bolt gun, if it's a gas gun, whatever. So a 308 is a 4-mile-an-hour gun. Right, so I'm going to talk in mils because that's what I do. I do mils. So you can do the math and convert it to MOA on your own time, right? So for every 100 yards, a 4-mile-an-hour full value wind, which means it's coming from 3 or 9 o'clock, is a tenth of wind. Right? And that goes 200 yards is 2 tenths, 300 yards is 3 tenths, 400 yards is 4 tenths, right? So if I got a target at 100 yards and a 22-mile-an-hour wind, full value, how many tenths is that? Come on. 6. There we go. Right? 6 tenths. So I'm going to start with a minimum, at 100, I'm going to start with a minimum hold of 6 tenths of wind. Right? Now we just keep multiplying that all the way out. Does that make sense? So I'm going to go at 200 is 12, so I'm 1.2 mils of wind, right? At 300 it's more, and all the way up. So that's for a 308, right? So it's a 4-mile-an-hour gun. That's all you got to remember. If it's more than 4 miles an hour, now we're into a wag, right? Hey, it's 6 miles an hour. Okay, I'm going to give it a little more, right? I'd rather err on the strong side than the less side of wind, right? So if you guys go to a competition, it's a bunch of super competent shooters, and you're looking down range, and the left side of that target is all shot up, the wind's coming from the left to the right, because pro shooters will miss on the pro side of the target, right? 2 things happen when a bullet comes out of the barrel, right? It immediately starts falling, and it never says, let's go upwind. Never happened one time, right? If wind is there, it's gonna happen, right? So one of my favorite sayings from like the best wind caller in the country, his name's Emil Praslin. When the Navy came up with their big like laser range finding wind meter, they called him in to double check it. Dude is legit, right? Because it's saying it ain't never not worth nothing. It's a lot of negatives in there. I don't know if that's like it actually is worth something or not, but it ain't never not worth nothing. If you can feel it or you can see it, you need to account for it in some way, because it's going to affect that round, right? So 308 guns, 4 miles an hour. That's all you got to remember, right? It's a tenth for every 100 yards. 6.5 Creedmoor, next most popular round, 5-mile-an-hour gun, right? A little bit more efficient. You get guys shooting like 6.5 SAUM, that's a 9-mile-an-hour gun, right? 9-mile-an-hour full value, and that thing's like a laser beam shooting out there, right? But the biggest ones you got to remember: 4-mile-an-hour gun, 5-mile-an-hour gun, 300 Win Mag, 5-mile-an-hour gun. Right? That's all you got to remember. So now you can start applying that to your own shooting and your own shooting style. That's the short wind formula. You go home and Google that stuff up. It'll pull up all kinds of equations and a bunch of stuff you don't need to worry about. 4 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour. That's what you got to remember. Right? Super cake. The biggest thing that helps you out with is, in the terrain that I shoot in, it's not like this big flat thing where, hey, I got 22 miles an hour coming from 2 o'clock the whole way out there. Where I shoot, I got canyons, and I got crosswinds, and I got cross canyon winds, and I got suppression winds. So like I'm looking at the target, and the wind is 37 miles an hour right to left. Awesome. I do the math, I take it out, here's my hold. Nope, the wind's left to right. Right? Because all the air in the canyon is actually going left to right, and it's just curling back along the face of that ridge line, right where that target is. So it's lying to me the whole time. Right? So I got all kinds of different things I got to apply it. So I take that short-run formula, and then I apply it to different stages. What's the first 200 meters doing? Nothing. Okay, what's the next 200 meters doing? I definitely have some wind there. I can see it in the trees. I can see it in the shrubs blowing around. Okay, I need to account for that wind. How fast is it? I don't know. Let's take a guess and let's figure it out. What's the next 200 meters doing? What's the next 200 meters doing? So I break it down into 200 meter increments and then apply that short-run formula to that 200 meter section. Right? And then after I get all the way to the target, I add up what I got, and then that's what my initial hold is. Is it dead nuts every time? No. Right? If you got to make a shot, like military situation, you got to make a shot, it's a no-fail mission, how close you got to be?
Hopefully within the width of his chest.
Close, yeah. Right? You got to be like, you got to stock really good. You got to take atmospherics out of it if it's a no-fail shot. Right? If I have to do this, if it's like mission success is this guy goes on the ground, I got to be within 200 meters. You got to be close. You have to take every factor that you can out of it, right? Now the game is, how far can we get away and still lob rounds accurately? That's the game now, right? So 1 shot, 1 kill. Yeah, man, that brief's super cool. Is that practical at 800 meters and out? No, it's not. So, right, if you can ballpark your wind using that short wind formula and a kestrel and a rangefinder and all the other tools that are out there, if you can get within a miss that's inside a mil, if you can miss that target inside a mil, your second round hit goes up into the 70 percentile. If you're outside a mil, you're still below 50, right? So that's a big deal when you're talking to shooters that are trying to get out there and shoot distance. Like, hey, here's some factors you need to apply, right? Wind will screw you before everything else that's in your ballistic computer. Before Coriolis effect, before direction of fire, before latitude and longitude, before all the other stuff you can put in there in that ballistic computer, wind will get you first every time. Why? It's variable, and it's the most prevalent, right? Wind and gravity. Those are the two biggies. After that, it's icing on the cake, right? But wind and gravity are the two big ones, right? So those are the two big ones you need to account for the most accurately. After that, it's icing on the cake, right? So that's the short run formula. So when you guys are talking to guys, the goal is to get them to miss within a mil. I still teach 20 weeks out of the year. I do long distance high angle training for a bunch of military guys, right? And that's the goal. Hey, I just need to get you to be able to read the conditions to within a mil.